we're going to go on. Why are we talking about system strategy? Of all the things we could be talking about, why are we talking about this? I'm going to pass over to my lovely colleague, George. Hello, George.
Hi, and thanks, Rich, and thanks everyone so much for joining. I'm George Dellal. I've been part of Kaleidoscope for about 5.5 years now and hold a number of roles in the organisation, including leading our work on collaborations and networks, which is my passion. So before we talk about system strategy, let's spend just a moment or two thinking about what a system is. So leading systems theorist, the late Donnella Meadows, defined a system as an interconnected set of elements that's coherently organized in a way that achieves something. So in our current context, we might question how coherently we're able to organize ourselves and our resources, but putting that to aside, I feel that the key word in Meadows' definition is interconnected. And in our current focus, it's interconnected because it's the connections amongst the component parts that dictate how the system functions and what it's able to achieve. In our current context, we're talking about integrated care systems, partnerships of organizations that come together to plan and deliver joined up health and care services and to improve the lives of those people who live and work in that area. And so the purpose of an ICS is in no doubt noble, and everyone, as we just heard from the pre-work question, the most popular response was that it's a good idea but so hard to put in practice. And that's what's going to be our focus for today, thinking about how we can use strategy to develop deliberately and support systems that achieve more than their component parts working in silos. And next slide, please. As Rich mentioned, we're our Kaleidoscope. We offer support to organizations and systems in a range of areas across the sector. As an organization, two of our key areas of focus are strategy development and effective collaboration. So we were particularly keen to put on this event as system strategy cuts across these two areas of our interest and expertise. And I'll briefly touch on each of these now. So in terms of strategy development, we believe that strategy development is most effective when it can enable the following areas. So focusing purpose and direction. So it can do this through renewing purpose and values. It can provide clarity and for decision makers and decision making, enabling staff to understand how they're part of something bigger than themselves, bigger than any particular team or department, and externally showing and demonstrating values. We also talk about a strategy enabling organizations to accelerate their pace of change and by testing new ways of working and fostering ownership across groups. Strategy can also energize culture and relationships, being genuine around what matters most, role modeling values, and strengthening relationships in the process. And strategy can also enable us to listen and understand to those who matter most when it is done effectively. Next slide. In terms of supporting effective collaborations, we found through our research and our experience that effective high-performing collaborations have a clear shared purpose, they focus on building the right culture, and they have the resources and structures to succeed. And we've broken that down further into 8 characteristics, which you can see at the bottom, which can each be measured and developed and worked on either individually or together in groups. Next slide. So some of our keenest participants today might be wondering, you guys at Kaleidoscope just did a session on strategy a couple of months ago. And it's true, and I see several familiar names from that event. So what's different about today's event is that we're focused on system strategy. And to bring out that distinction, let me start by doing a little quiz. So over the next few seconds, we're going to reveal more and more of an image until someone is able to pop into the chat what this is an image of. So we're going to start to build this out. So anyone guess what this is an image of? Make it a little bit bigger. Fingers on buzzers, getting ready to type. Anyone? 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 Yes, thank you. Apologies if I mispronounce your name, but thank you, Jose and Dan. It is indeed Encarta. And for those of you who were not around in 1995, Encarta was one of our first digital encyclopedias. It was funded and developed by Microsoft. It had the brightest tech minds of a generation working on it, and it quickly made physical encyclopedias obsolete. Yeah, anyone remember Encyclopedia Britannica? Huge books that people used to have. Anyway, Encarta came along, put that whole industry out of business. But Encarta itself was put out of business just a few short years later by, and it's kind of hard to believe with hindsight, but it's put out of business by a bunch of volunteers sitting in their living rooms, many of whom were undoubtedly wearing their pajamas. Yes, I am talking about Wikipedia. If you pop to the next slide, Wikipedia put Encarta out of business very quickly. It boasts 4.5 billion words, 59 million pages, 46 million active users, and 120,000 active users editing and submitting content regularly. So why are we talking about Wikipedia at a system strategy event? Well, in 2017, if we go to the next slide, Wikipedia set out their ambitions for 2030. So nothing too surprising about that. Lots of organizations set out their ambitions and strategy. And then in 2020, it set out a set of initiatives and recommendations that they would use in order to meet that strategy. Again, nothing too remarkable there, pretty common amongst many organizations. And what's really important, what really matters, is the level of consultation, what they did in between 2017 and 2020. You can see here that in 2018, they had a Wikimania event. In 2019, there was a Wikimedia Summit and another Wikimania, loads of community conversations. Working groups were set up, more community conversations, and then finally in 2020, their final recommendations were published. So almost a 3-year consultation process there. So we can go to the next slide, please. So that might have sounded a little bit like overkill. But it's not, because Wikipedia understands something fundamental about system strategy and systems working, and that is it's all about membership involvement and connection. And if Wikipedia's strategy is all about making members involved, what does that mean for us in our health and care context? Well, we argue that in a systems context, you can't have a purpose-driven strategy, our first and foremost characteristic of an effective collaboration, without the next 4 characteristics, all focused on building the right culture. So partners committed to the purpose and empowered to act. No, Wikipedia gave away decision-making autonomy to those groups. Trust and generous community. Wikipedia recognizes the contribution from the community and does so very deliberately. Leaders who actively span boundaries can cut across organizations and silos. Wikipedia leadership spans and covers numerous disciplines, and they engage across numerous disciplines and use kind of system convenience to connect across as well. And then ways to communicate and convene. So we heard about those summits, those community conversations, those working groups. Indeed, Wikipedia understands the importance of the cultural infrastructure necessary to support and sustain the Wikipedia system. So what this example nicely illustrates is that system strategy is different from organizational strategy. It's not possible without that cultural infrastructure. And that's where we think our focus should be as we develop and implement strategies for nascent ICSs. So I'll hand back to Rich now to introduce our speakers and hopefully get to explore this a little bit further with you all. Thank you.